Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Aurora. This is October 10th of 2019, and this is the Level 1 presentation for Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. So the first thing, Cheryl, first, so good to see you. I know that you've been in Northern California where there have been power outages, and I'm happy that you managed to get you've got the power so that you can get on in here. That is good. First thing I want to do is say how much I appreciate the people who have been sending me in their homeworks. And I want to share two student examples that both, let me change my chair here, both with permission. Don't worry, I would never do anything without a student's permission. Let me also just move this thing on the back. I'm sorry, I meant to move before I got started on the recording. So I'm going to do share screen and show you some of these homeworks. Oh, that should go away. Okay, I'll make my face bigger. So this is in reference to what the homework assignment was for 2 weeks ago. What I did most of the broadcast was well, let me annotate. No, I've missed the annotation window. Let's not even do it. I will wiggle my cursor. I was teaching about the way that these different layers of reality, chakras of your body or energy centers, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Chakras as alive beings. This all is going to fit in with current events too. So this is really good. Energetic weather report. So first up, the homework has been very beautiful, and my hat is off to you because I recognize that this is like, complex. It's like trying to do many layers. So some students are doing like red, orange, yellow, and then sending me some work for feedback. And then, because there's it's about like being able to understand things visually. And when I do a painting, I don't always put in every line because I recognize that it can be confusing to the eye, confusing to the perceiver if I draw all of the information. So I've learned, like an artist, to put the amount of information that is perceptible and gives the right story, and I use my aesthetic choices to take out the other stuff that's extra, that's like, too confusing. So I understand that as you start to do these drawings, they're complex and there's lots of lines, and the lines start to kind of like go on top of each other, and it can be difficult to visually decipher what is going on. Like what's in front of what's here, what's here. So don't be too hard on yourself, because this is literally the reason for doing the process of doing the drawing. Drawing is a way of exploring. It's not like, oh, I know exactly how something looks, now I'm ready to draw it. It's not like that. It's actually like this. I don't know how something looks. I'm going to draw it to figure it out. So you don't necessarily know how a nose looks. You got to be like, okay, how exactly is that shape? Like in an anthropomorphic face. And it is also necessary to learn what exactly are these chakras shaped like, and how exactly, drinking, I get very thirsty. How exactly do they fit together in anatomical precision? And that is benevolent for you to know about, so that first of all, you can assess your own health and vitality. Like, how are my angles? How are my, rotating spheres? Like, do I look good? Just like in the same way that you might, look at your skin, be like, I don't know, my skin is looking a little bit dry. Like maybe I should put some cream on there. That you need to be able to assess. And this is also part of like moving into greater levels of multidimensional perception and inner maturity. So as your higher faculties come online and you're able to perceive multidimensionally, getting to the energetic weather report, but not yet there yet, you will start to perceive these aspects of your own anatomy and be able to tell with your own assessment, like taking your own pulse, what is going on in your body. And I think that self-assessment process is very important, because it's good to get help from other people, but it is not good to be reliant upon another person. And so yeah, this is part of like the maturation process. Just like as a little tiny baby, most people are like, you need help tying your shoes, or like, to get your bottle filled with juice or something like that. But then you become self-sufficient. You do these things for yourself. And so with understanding the formation and health of your non-physicality, you might have needed help to be able to understand what's going on with you in the past. But when you become mature, you then can tie your own shoes and you can get your own juice box out of the refrigerator or whatever. So these are two really excellent examples that come from Hans in Sweden. Thank you. And what I appreciate very much, so previous homeworks, it was evident that you could draw these structures very well, did a very good job of fitting the form of a human into the right areas of the non-physical structure. And so I appreciate very much. And also, like, my philosophy on art, I'm getting a little philosophical here, everyone. Bear with me. I think that everything is a self-portrait. I think that when you're an artist, a creator, or a musician, or whatever, like, everything that you're painting or everything that you're singing about, like, you're singing about yourself. That is essentially it. Like, this is your self-expression, this is your reflection. So I think it's wonderful and appropriate that Hans's human figure roughly echoes who he is, or the way that he dresses in the physical world. Like, when I draw human figures, I draw female human figures that roughly echo my shape and my physicality. It's all a self-portrait. So I applaud that, and I think that is really good. And I want to get to a couple of more. Hold on a second. Let me move some. There we go. This is another student's work. Thank you so much. I've totally forgotten your name, and I apologize because I have a great problem remembering people's names. So we'll have to accredit you later. I appreciate very much the work that went into this. And I think that the use of graph paper is very effective because you can see where you're wiggling my cursor down here at the bottom of the screen, where your orange circle meets the halfway point, the midpoint of this larger red circle. That is beautiful. And over here, where you've got the bottom portion of the yellow circle meeting perfectly with the midpoint of the orange circle. Very, very good usage of the graph paper in order to, like, keep your notes are very in tune. So I appreciate that very much. And I'm doing very well at stacking up, like making the subsequent stacking of the various chakra structures. So thank you very much. Good. We'll just stop share. I just really want to say I appreciate the time and energy that goes into this, and that it echoes my learning style. And so this is why I'm using it as my teaching style. So very good and cool. Wait, I'll give, how are we going to do class today? Next up on the video is energetic weather report. Let me drink. Because you know that I really, in class, try to separate the information that I give here from, like, any kind of topical or political views or any kind of thing like that. I try to keep this as universal information that is empirical. Yes, exactly. Really good homework to in the chat down there. You can make that visible so I can read that. Let me press the right button. I would like to give an energetic weather report. So as opposed to speaking about anything that is the overt, like, mundane manifestation on the socio-political or economic front of what is happening on the internal changes. And this speaks to the discussion that we've had for a very long time in this class, where many people feel frustration. We don't like what's going on, get me out of here, or some other, expression like that. And the answer is not, as I've been saying, to write a petition. Guess what? The website that owns the petition, like, is owned and run by, like, an evil guy, and your petition means nothing. And he laughs at your digital signature. Ha ha ha! I laugh at you. I'm hyperbolizing, but this is the truth. The evil guy's name is George Soros, and I have to say this is a entertainment purposes only video. Yeah, that I didn't mean to call all of that negativity here. Clear it away. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, there are things that are happening on an internal level that affect external events. So instead of saying, I'm waiting for something external to change and then I will experience my interior revolution, it is important to understand what I've been saying for a long time. Your interior revolution, or your transformation or metamorphosis on a genetic level, is what powers and it incites or makes kick in the butt to happen the external stuff. So if you have been waiting for, like, I'm waiting for the day that, Congress signs a letter, this thing, like, send a scathing 8-page letter to your political adversary. I'm sorry, I'm getting into politics. But no, we shall not send a scathing 8-page letter to anyone about our negative feelings about something. No, you dance like a lasagna. That is the response, not getting your lawyer to, have my lawyer draft a subpoena. Let's get on this right now, everyone. Like, no, we're not going to convene the grand jury, even though those events happen as the outer percolation of the transformation on the inner world, and the transformation on the inner world is all about being able to play your own music. Yeah, we got it tuned up for an electric guitar today. It wasn't actually intentional, but I'm just leaving it there. So it just, I hope no one's got their ear things in. I hope I didn't do that too loud for you. I'm very sorry. I should have warned you. Okay, so energetic weather report. What is happening? You know, in previous weeks, like the past 2 or 3 weeks in this class, I've been telling you that there have been contractions, more light, more information coming in, and it comes from the sun and the stars, like the stellar network, how this is kind of like getting more intelligence and being able to see more of these smudges on the glass and the dust bunnies and the muddy footprints that were left from all of the winter boots. Now you can see everything. It is time to actually clean things up. So in the past week or so, in my personal experience, as more of these waves come in, and I'd like to describe what the experience of these waves feels like to me, and anyone in the chat who would like to share or later in comments, I'm interested to hear about your experience too, because this is not about the recorded materials of this class. The recorded materials, that's the textbook, like for like how to do spiritual pregnancy. And now we're like, okay, the baby's coming out. Like, let's all talk about what's happening. So that is what I'm trying to say. These actual experiences are now happening. And in the moment when I feel this waves of light or contractions happening, it feels very positive and euphoric. And it feels like what a person might associate with being high, like smoking a joint, but without muscular incoordination, without any kind of misarticulation or like difficulty in being able to speak or express yourself, without any of what I'm trying to say, pure mental clarity, without the side effects that are usually associated with getting stoned, but the sense of mental clarity and euphoria. So it is a natural, that is what I think is happening, that the ingestion of cannabis, the plant, is meant to mimic or bring us towards those feelings, and now we're getting those feelings. And so, yeah, so I'm just saying, like, and it is not incapacitating. That's what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't consider like, oh, waves of euphoria are coming through me, I better pull off the road or something like that. I'm too happy to drive. It's not like that. I do not feel incapacitated when these moments happen. And as these moments have been happening, and forgive me if I'm not articulate about this, this is really new stuff. It's hard for me to put it into words. I definitely couldn't write about it. Like, I've not been like trying to write a note or anything like that about it, but I've been able to understand it through drawing. And so I will share that understanding with you. I feel like I've been looking down the time tunnel, the DNA time tunnel. And if we imagine that this is a spiral of DNA, I want to draw it like big and fat. Like, imagine this is a spiral of DNA. It's simplified, that it actually is more of like a twisted strand. And each one of those loops is one lifetime. And if I stand here, like here's my, eyeball viewpoint here, and I'm looking down this direction, then I can look down the time tunnel at all of these other experiences that are part of my experience in this moment now, what I would call the culmination of this moment now. But the time tunnel doesn't just go in one direction, because I know everyone's ready to be very linear. This would be a linear way of thinking. Well, the stuff that's close to me is close to me in time. And as I go further back in this way, I go back into, things that are farther away in time. But you got to start thinking in a non-linear sense. So as I was starting to, think how I would share this with people, I imagine like a very long hallway, like almost, if you were in a hotel or something like that, like a big, giant, long hallway. And so that's through the magical perspective. You understand that is actually a hallway, and that there's, imagine there's a little door at the end of the hallway, but then there's all these other doors that line the hallway, right? That ostensibly go to all the different quote unquote hotel rooms here in the hotel. I'm a perfectionist, guys, and I have to finish drawing the doors properly. Focus. And I have to put doorways on all the doorknobs on all the doors, right? My thing is not working because this is very difficult to draw with. Come on, there you go. You have to put doorways on all the doorways. Okay. Fantastic. So this is what I visualized in order to be able to share what I've been experiencing internally. And I also recently went to a nearby city that I haven't visited very much recently. Like, I used to do my shopping there on a weekly basis. And I went there to do like a big economical shopping at the larger stores. And I felt that there was an increase in the disruptive frequencies, like a sudden, like a intense, different from any other time that I've been there. On my more recent visits within the past 2 days or so, I felt a lot of frequency interference to the point that I felt like it was hurting my teeth to be in that energy field, like a big, fat, yuck, very loud, bad music energy field. I'm like, get in and out, get me out of here. Like, I know I need to buy some juice and coffee or whatever, but like, get me out of here. So that, I'll loosely call that disruptive energy field 5G, even though it's many, many other things other than 5G. And I'll talk about, this is energetic weather report. What is going on? So I just went outside and felt it raining. I just went to a nearby city. It's called Ventura, California, and I felt it raining. No, this is not physical rain. I felt a profound change in the frequency of salt. And I, have been kind of thinking about it and kind of analyzing and examining it so that I can articulate it to you. Understand, because 5G is on officially in areas of Los Angeles, which is, 1.5 or 2 hours away by car from the area that I'm speaking about. So definitely not in the exact same area. And 5G doesn't have a very far broadcast rate. So according to the official, rollout of where that is, the financial district is many, many miles away, not capacity to be able to be affecting this over here. So I'm understanding that it is what is also known as the Internet of Things, which precedes the official 5G, which are the masts that are like antennae that are spread throughout neighborhoods, and the larger repeaters to I'm not using the right words, sue me, okay? I'm making a joke or whatever. Wait. Okay, but there's good questions. Wait. I need to drink. If I do not use exactly the right vocabulary words, please forgive me. Understand and have compassion. Don't initiate legal action. I'm joking. There's a power to words. That's why I'm joking about this. So anyway, why do I bring this up? Not only because, hey, everybody, like, drink your shungite. Aurora prescribes shungite. Literally as much as you possibly can. Also to bring up the idea that now an area like that I consider to be a frequency prison. And so the Internet of Things, we're talking about police cars. They emit an enormous amount. They're like these little antennae that are constantly emitting and disrupting. And there's all sorts of different police and municipal vehicles that do this. Like, they're all antennas that are talking to each other. And parking meters, because they recently put in parking meters in areas of Ventura that used to be like a free parking area. And the meters are these little digital meters. And so they have also these broadcast antennas. Oh, and of course, smart meters are part of this Internet of Things. But I live in a town that does have smart meters, and there's one on my house. And I am still able to feel a calm and peaceful energy field. I'm able to cultivate my energy here. And I did put a small mesh covering over it, but it's not so disruptive to me. My teeth are not hurting because I'm in the presence of that mere apparatus. But just being in the frequency zone of that particular city, and not every area of the city. It was, unsurprisingly, in the shopping areas where most people would be going, in very specific parking lots where the bad noise was very loud. I was like, my teeth, get me out of here. It makes me really reconsider, is it worth it to save a few dollars to be able to go there and get, be exposed to this disruptive vibration at the time when I'm attempting to make let's make some coherent vibrations. That is music. Those are coherent vibrations. And, we don't have to play a bunch of noise. We know what noise sounds like. But that's what's playing down in Ventura. So as I have been experiencing this over the past couple of days, incoming waves that make me feel, inexplicably happy and calm and peaceful, and also these insights of being able to connect down the DNA time tunnel, I am not certain what other people's experiences are like. I was going to say everybody, because the same sunlight falls on everyone, the same consciousness and information is flowing to everyone. So I was going to say, hey, I presume that everyone is connecting down the DNA timeline and seeing and feeling the reverberations or the multiple concurrent lives of who they are. But I don't know that because I think that if you are living in a place where there's a lot of disrupted, horrible music, it might be difficult to hear these more subtle frequencies and to determine what's actually going on. So I would love some feedback or some reportage on what people are personally experiencing. From the people that I'm connected to, like that I read, their posts on bulletin boards and things like that, that many people have been saying like they've been having profound remembrances of past lives that are not past lives, but like concurrent lives. And it might be even remembrance of an ancient time or a time beyond time, a time that is not recognized within our present library of human history. So now with all of that backstory, we get to this hallway, like a time tunnel, like we're looking down the spiral of DNA, but don't think in a linear sense. Don't think in a linear sense, everyone. Because it's not like, there, I'll switch to a different color. It's not like first we opened up this door, and then we opened up this door, and then we opened up this door. Like we do these experiences in a non-linear fashion. So you could imagine like this viewpoint over here, that green dot is you, and that's the present moment now. But again, I don't want you to think that this is 100 years ago, and this is 1,000 years ago, and then this is 1,000,000 years ago. Like I want to say like it doesn't work that way, but that's like a very declarative statement, which is to say like that is not the way that things are structured. So be open with your mind to a different understanding. That's why I want it to be like this door could be the most recent, like your footsteps, your little dots in time in terms of provenance, like your consciousness, not your biological DNA. Dun, 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 we have to make a big, huge distinction now. Because in this class, I speak a lot about DNA and the DNA of, your ancestors and everything like that. And that's the DNA of your biological container of this life existence. But that is not the only life existence that you've ever experienced. So, okay, I hold up this sculpture. You guys at this point in the semester are experts in this class. The bottom quadrant of this is that time vortex, represents one life, moving from the broad, the general, to the specific, culminating at the 0th dimension or that moment of infinity. But look, there's this one where my pinky is, and the one on the other side, and the one on the top. What are those? Those are other lives. So the lesson 1 teaching is all about what are your chakras. They're yourselves coming at a different rate, moving from a different dimension, moving from a different direction. So I don't want you to think of them as other. And please understand in the recorded lesson, I hope that I made it very clear. Like, I don't know if I'm as smooth with language as I would like to be, but in recording that lesson and re-listening to it, I'm like, I hope that it is very clear that I do not want anyone to think that your chakras are something other than you. It's not like you're the physical lump of biological goo and cells and things like that, and then some other thing comes inside of you. No, you are not some kind of a puppet to be puppet mastered by whatever extra dimensional entities. So I had to understand, like, okay, because I'm here in this traumatized world and there's all these cultural filters, blah, blah, blah. I know it's exhausting to have like all of the backpedaling and everything like that, or just like trying to say in the most fine way, your chakras are you. They are not something other than you, but you have lives that are being led concurrently that are not your same physical container. I know if this is hard to understand. It's not past lives, it's concurrent lives. Their life is your life. Their health is your health. So if your chakra is askew, their chakra is askew. If you're hitting the membrane of death, they're hitting the membrane of death. This is the level of trust and complexity and entanglement that I'm talking about. And this is what the Aurora Collective, for lack of a better term, what my consciousness collective is like. It is like a big, giant superstructure of polygons with all of this different energy that is jumping from different place to place. And it's absolutely essential that you be on target. Like, play the right note, be on target. Because if you're askew, if you're hitting the membrane of death, if you're not on target, then that affects all of these other musicians. So that is, it's like going through this refinement process here at this level to then be able to play with a larger symphony and, not F it up, but like add to the music. Instead of speaking the negative, speaking the positive, only add to the music. So there's a big, big difference between your origins of your biological architecture. If you're like, oh, I got the shape of my nose and the shape of my fingertips from, my ancient, whatever ancestors, my Egyptian or my Celtic ancestors, or like they have this little foot chart. You know what I'm talking about? They're like, what do I have? Greek feet or Celtic feet? And then you think like, those are my people from an ancient world. So you think like, oh, then that means if I'm looking down the end of this tunnel, of this hallway in the hotel of you, and you're looking at the most distant, you think, oh, that's who I was, whatever, in ancient Egypt or in an ancient Celtic realm. Not necessarily your trajectory. Okay, so that's the first thing, to understand that the biological origins of your physical container in this life are not necessarily your consciousness origins. Consciousness provenance, or what we would call consciousness or soul DNA, is different than biological DNA. Big insight. That because people want to do like their DNA testing, and they want to find out like, what continent did you come from? Did you come from Africa? Did you come from Europe? Did you come from Asia? Where did your people come from? But when I use the word your people, that might not be your people. Your people that you are connected to in this biological container, but you used to live in a different biological container that would have had a different DNA biological structure, that might have had a different point of ancestry or origin. So when I draw this little dotted line over here, going to this door or coming from this door, that's your most recent experience. Again, non-linear, but let's say like that's the book that you were just reading like 5 minutes ago. And that could be ancient Egypt. That's the most recent flavor. It is still lingering. I still remember the taste of ancient Egypt. Like that might be what you are identifying with. And again, like I tell you all the time in this class, like, don't get a past life reading. I'll save you $5. You've been everyone. That's the whole point. You've been everyone. However, you have not been everyone. You've been everyone as a trajectory, let's say, bouncing through all these time doors, not necessarily the same at every moment. That as you bounce through different time doors, you change and are refined in your consciousness and in your wisdom and in your assessment and analysis of reality. So you're not the same person at the beginning of the journey as you were at the end of the journey. That's the point of the journey. So let's say if this was your first life that you lived way back here, and then this was your more recent life that you lived, you actually went through a soul development, or we could call it a consciousness development, where you matured and learned and grew. But also the maturing and learning and growing is concurrent, because it means that you might have started off askew, not quite on the right timeline, and both of you leveled up and got on the right timeline. So that means if in this life that you presently live, if you are ascending, your energy centers are connected concurrently to many, many other lives. And those other lives, again, I don't want you to think, the heck. As these insights come to you, or as they have come to me, I am continually reminding myself and reminded that just because I read something first doesn't mean that that's the most important thing. Like these are like formative experiences. Like when you have not seen or done anything, the first thing that you see is like, it's the most amazing. Like if you've never ever seen a painting or heard music, the first thing that you see or hear is going to be like the best ever. But then you're like, that might have just been like kind of a crappy painting, not even that good. And better, even get better. So yeah, just because something is the thing that you remember the strongest, or the most recent taste, the most familiar flavor, that does not necessarily mean that it's the primary experience. That just might be the first. These are all different versions of you. Let me just drink a little bit more. These are all different versions of you, and these are all concurrent lives. And let's imagine that the version of you that lived behind this door can actually come out here into the hallway. And also the one that you live behind this door can come out here into the hallway. And then you're this green dot where I'm scribbling down here at the bottom. So what you've got is 3 different versions of self that are now starting to coincide and meet and act together. This hallway in the hotel actually ends up being infinity. Wait, we should make like a big giant infinity sign or something like that. That's too confusing. Okay. And it didn't even come out right. But that hallway is kind of like that convergence point there of all of these lives. So let's draw it out graphically. Do it. Here's one life. No, that didn't come out perfect. Here's another life. Okay. And here's another life. And this process, as these birth contractions for new dimension are happening from the sun and the stars, the stellar network, more and more consciousness comes in. We begin to be able to connect across time to our concurrent lives and understand information from them and give information to them. So even though I'm starting to, give the idea that it's like in this zone here, we're like in the all time is now zone. You guys all came out into the hallway, had a little talk, having a little talk right here in this circle and maybe you got ideas from other aspects of self. Maybe you learned about something from the ancient world that was going on over here that you now bring into what would be considered the modern world here. But first of all, it's not ancient and modern because they're just consider them like different doorways to different rooms of the hotel, and none of them are in serial. None of it is linear. It's not like, well, first we have the Hindu empire, and then we have the this empire, and then we have the this empire. That is not what it is like. There are layers of complexity, mind-created realms. It's hard to put it into words, but I think you guys are with me there. Because I want to say that you can be mutually inspirational. And there's the sense in, I think, modern teaching, I don't have a word for it, of being time-centric, saying that this modern era is the culminative moment of human history, and I do not agree with that. Like, I believe that there have been, I don't really believe, I know from experience that there are many other times or eras or mind-created realms on this planet when there were much more civilized civilizations than what we presently experience. So I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it is hubristic pride or whatever of the people of this time. They're like, woohoo, look at my microchip. I am so fancy. Like, that's not actually very fancy, but that's nice. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that ain't fancy at all. Like all the poop, and what by poop, I'm talking about like the frequency poop. That is not nice at all. And a lot of the other forms of consciousness degradation and degradation of the human body. Like you might really, like you would think like, oh, this time and place, everyone would be super educated, a genius. There's availability of so much food. Everybody would be perfectly well fed, but not overweight. Everyone would be an Olympic athlete. No, that is clearly not going on. This is not the pinnacle of human civilization. And there have been other civilizations that might not even be acknowledged by this barbarian realm, this very benighted, sorry, I'm joking. I don't mean to make you guys feel bad, but just to make you understand, something I think all you guys know, like the music, pop music here, it ain't good. That ain't Mozart. That is not very advanced music. So I think, you got a plastic culture, right? Like that ain't going to last very long. I also think that's very funny. Like it's a plastic culture. Plastic actually does not last for very long. It actually degrades horribly. It is not something that you're going to find many, many years later archaeologically. All that aside, to refocus the conversation, information that you have now in what we would call chronologically or in a linear sense, the modern era. Forget about telling them in the past era, like, oh, well, what you need to do is get a wheel and axle. Like that is not what I'm trying to say. You're not trying to teach them how to grow microchips. What you are trying to do is inspire former versions of self with the inspiration and food and nourishment that they need to survive and avoid the membrane of death and become you. Because that is who they will transform into on their soul journey, on their trajectory. So they are spiraling, from the general to the specific, getting closer and closer and closer to the middle, tightening up who they are, like refining who they are as a person, just as you're doing the same thing. And you are the, end result or the echo or the reverberation of their ancient experience. If you can come out here and talk right here in this spot in the middle of the time tunnel, you can tell them like, hey, here's what you need to know to not die on your journey. So I don't want to share my information, which is highly personal, about my own journey. Like I share that with confidants and, friends, and some of those people are also people in this class. It's very personal stuff. It's not something that I would, commodify in any way by sharing it here. It's like a medicine story, something that is powerful and profound. So, whatever amount people would like to share or acknowledge is going on here. But I want to bring up to say that in the past few days of connecting telepathically on a bridge of love, having a little chat in the hallway with all these different other converging chakras that are myself as a larger superstructure through time, I've been able to tell them what they need to know in order to avoid many consciousness pitfalls, many soul traps. Like, whatever you do, don't trust this guy, like that guy ain't your friend. Don't don't interact with that guy or that woman or that thing, or don't make that choice. You can give that information. So I've been telling you about this in the sense of a peripheral self. Like, imagine you're down here and you hit the membrane of death, but you can send information laterally to the version of you that is going up this way and say, hey, whatever you do, don't get in that maniac's car because you're going to end up on the membrane of death. I told you little anecdotes, right? Like my friend who saw herself dead in a dumpster, like, don't do that. Get out the window. Don't go in that guy's car. Yeah. So in the same way that you can get information how to avoid the membrane of death from a peripheral self, you can get information not only how to avoid the membrane of death, but how to live your best life from these parallel or concurrent lives, being able to inspire one another and nourish one another with the ideas and energy that you need to be your true self. So that is the experience that I've been having in the energetic weather report. But I cannot say a blanket statement if I know that other people, I was presuming like even, wicked or malformed people on a genetic level would be also experiencing, I'm going to stop talking, would also be experiencing the same thing. Like maybe the beings that I would consider to be, wicked, distorted, malevolent beings are also looking down their time tunnel. And I'll get to pictures too. I'll show you pictures of what I'm trying to talk about. And maybe they're connecting to who they were and understanding their motivations in this life. Like I've been able to understand much more why I am here as Aurora. Why am I here as Aurora? Why did I get into this? Oh my God. Why did I fly Rainbow Lasagna myself into this? And I understand it now implicitly. And all of that makes so much sense because guess what? The lights got turned on and I got a chance to actually see and understand all of this stuff. And I also got a chance to, from my perspective, imagine if you've already watched a TV series and then you go back and you rewatch in the beginning and you're talking to the screen. You're like, oh, don't go in that hallway. You don't know what's going to be there, but you know what's going to be there. You've already watched the shows. You know it. So I was able to give information to parallel, concurrent aspects of self that are actually residing chronologically in the past in time. And I'm able to tell them, don't go down that path. Don't go down that path because I already watched that episode and it didn't turn out good. And here's some information that you need to know. And also they were able to give information to me about ancient times or otherworldly times that are not part of our linear reality right now that you wouldn't read about in a history book, that totally inform and enlighten my present day experience, that help me to understand everything about, the human form that I'm in, the body that I'm in, and the experience of being here. So let's read, and I have to squint over here. Great job. Pedro says, Merkaba of the photons from the sun are working. Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. Because all of this is about energy and information from the sun coming in an unimpeded way. So it's like, imagine the irony. Like people sitting down here on the earth, super, super, super duper suffering. And all the information that they need literally is like falling on your face. But it's not, it's like imagine like the applesauce is getting on your face. None of it is actually getting in your mouth. That is incredibly frustrating to the person trying to feed you like a little tiny baby infant. Like, get that food in there. We want you to grow up. Get that light in there. We want you to grow up. That's, the message. I'm paraphrasing here. From this world of pure light, of pure consciousness, this stellar network. Want to get the light and the food into humans. And I know that you guys are all like super hungry. You're like, it's just sometimes hard to coordinate. So that's it. Yeah, no one is down on you at all. And so the idea of placing a Merkaba of protection so that all of the sunlight or light of information and awareness and possibilities, all the possibilities of time that are coming from the sun go to exactly where they need to go. I think that's very effective. And yes, I would say it's clearly working. David says, incoming waves feels like my head hooked up to an air compressor. Very interesting. Carla says, can we uncreate it? And does your Merkaba protect you? We are talking now about the 5G or the soup or the frequency or the crapola. So yeah, I had to go to the city. I did shopping while I was also doing some other things that were like, obligations that I had to go there for. I usually avoid the place like anything. And so in knowing that I needed to go there, I did a couple of things. I did what I usually do. And I have literally shungite kind of buttons sewn into my clothing and my t-shirts and my tank tops I always have shungite water with me. I always, drink that as a normal part of me. And I tell you about my thing. I put it in my skin cream too. So yes, I've got all of that all over my body. Um, didn't have I didn't have an extra Merkaba of protection of, like, I did my usual shields of protection and safety driving to a city so that, there's no difficulties with the car, no automobile accidents, no problems, no police, no whatever. And I didn't, when I went down there, it really impacted me very heavily. So like I told you, like as I was in parking lots or whatever, and I felt so uncomfortable, like being in this, being in this frequency assault, then I started to be like, oh my God, like I gotta get my shields. Like I kind of like reinvigorated my shields, but mostly I felt like, get me out of here. And so I'm kind of feeling like, I think that I can protect myself and that my shields are very strong, but I still wouldn't want to stand next to a nuclear blast furnace, and I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that we should have to. Just like with our skin, like your skin is actually delicate, you can expose it to a certain amount of solar radiation, but too much and like your skin will dissolve and you fall off of your face. Like too much is too much. So I think with all of us, it is a very erroneous presumption to say like, oh, we came here to get strong, like, just get stronger, get stronger. Like, no, think about it. Like if you expose yourself to the sun gradually, your skin does darken. And there are people in many cultures who are able to be exposed for 6, 7, 12 hours, whatever, very, very strong sun without getting a sunburn. But still, like at a certain point, your skin will burn and fall off. Like it doesn't matter how much self-protection you are able to generate. We are being exposed to circumstances that are outside the parameters of biological organisms. Like 5G is an assault. It is a military weapon that has been intended to be used against the civilians, you and I, the actual population. Let me drink more. Wait, while I drink, let me read this thing that was said to me privately. Oh, sorry, it's a very long comment. Okay. Pedro says, before the FRL, the continuity of consciousness was linear? No. One life after ascending from the past one? Nope. I'll keep on reading your questions. And now with the FRL, without the DNA degradation out, consciousness can jump from any time to any life. Thank you for your question, because it helps me to be able to clarify. These are complex concepts, and it's hard for me to even be able to like bumble my way into some way of trying to tell you all about it. All of these vortexes are a life. So each one is spinning at a different angle. And you also have many layers of this. I can dig up the painting if you want to, but you guys have seen it many times. You've got many layers stacked up on top of it. And each layer can be individually askew. So this one can be askew like 3%. This one can be askew like 27%. Like they can be at all different angles. So you have many, many, many lives at many, many different angles of whatever interference. And all in order for you in this life to ascend at the same exact time, concurrently with the musicians all working together, all of the bandmates that you are playing your music with have to ascend also. So in a linear sense, you guys got to get a multidimensional viewpoint. In a linear sense, you want to say, well, first I ascended 5,000 years ago, then I ascended 1,000 years ago, then I ascended 100 years ago, then I ascended today. And that might be what it looks like from a linear perspective, but from your soul perspective, it looks like all of your lives start to ascend at the same moment. So you all were askew, and you all started to get your SHIT together, and you all started to get into alignment. And so I think we're in that level where we are like almost completely on all of these axes in alignment. And that is why I'm experiencing this time tunnel. I don't think I'm the only person having this experience. The long personal comment of a person in this class confirms that to me, along with many other things. So again, I can't dictate or even imagine what other people's experiences are like. But yeah, I imagine you're connecting with other layers of self and other aspects of yourself. And what it has felt like for me is profound healing of the lineages that I'm connected to, because I understand the origins of the difficulties, and the origins of those difficulties are the exact same, like they mirror in fractal microcosmic proportions what the whole planet is going through. So perhaps that relates to your own particular experiences too. Like, I really do believe that each one of us has been born into this particular position in your lineage, because, you have a reverberative effect moving forward and also reverberating backward down the time tunnel. Should I get the musical DNA notes and show this to you? Because a picture's worth 1,000 of the flapping moving mouth parts. Wait, squint and scroll. I'm looking for, these are screenshots. Oh, good. I'm so proud that I have that. Good, okay. So wait, oh man, I can't find anything. Hold on a second. What was there, guys? Thank you for your patience. You press a thing, I can't see anything. I want to share a screen. I want to go to this. Okay. Oh, no, I'm going to use that annotation. But I want to move this thing. I can't do it. It's too hard sometimes. Painful, tedious. That's one thing I will also tell you guys. As I'm finding these moments of peaceful euphoria, if I have to do some kind of thing, like if it doesn't flow easily, like, oh my God, like the gas nozzle will just not nuzzle properly into the car, like just feels like the biggest impediment for smooth movement through time. And the things that feel like these impediments, they're always technological things. That's what it is. Like I tell you, like my life force energy draining away, I have to do the phone prompts. I'm like, oh my God, I have to click buttons. It's getting very difficult. Okay, so what I've got over here is a screenshot from a lovely app. I don't know if it still has support. It's called Musical DNA. So this guy is lovely. His name is Ken Lemons. He created actually two wonderful, they're like visualizers for music. The best way I can describe it is mostly up until this point, music has been described in a linear sense, where, if this is the beginning, so that's the musical staff, 5 lines, and we begin over here. And then, if you draw a note here, or if you draw a note here, the understanding is that time moves in this direction, right? It's a very linear understanding of what music is. But what this guy did was wrote a computer program that's, for your tablet, and each one of these little dots that I'm circling is a note. So my thing is so hard to move today. I don't know why this thing is so hard. Each one of these represents a note. And in the app, it's like a circle, like the face of a clock. And let's play it. Is what you hear around the circle as you go around the clock, right? And so this blue line that connects these two notes, this is what we're representing here. This blue line, yeah, that would be a chord, 2 notes played together. But then if you look, there's actually a third note over here that they're all connecting, so it makes this triangle. And that triangle is a chord, 3 notes played together. Yeah, so the idea is visualizing a different sense of how music is, how you can understand music as shapes and polygons. And so this is actually like a moment in a song. I know that not everyone here has this much of a, love of music or whatever. I love music and learning about it in this way. I hope that is interesting to you. I bring this up because this relates to your own experience as a human being. The music. So I love to give shout out, check out Musical DNA. I don't know if it's still something that you can find, but it's a very worthy program because it kind of helped me to understand DNA and the songs of our life in a different way. You can look at each one of these loops as a loop in time or a generation. So this is like you right now. And then this would be like, oh, your parents' loop, your parents' generation. This would be like, oh, your grandparents' generation and your great-grandparents' generation of this biological container, not of the biological container that you wore when you lived in ancient Egypt or the Hindu Empire or the Ottoman Empire or whenever, you lived. There's so much that of human experience that has not been recorded in our present level of history. Be aware of that also. this shape that you see here is like the end result of all these different human generations and characteristics, both physical and anthropomorphic, like behavior characteristics, who you are as a person, combining together to make a song. And so in changing your understanding or refining your understanding, you can see that these time loops can be who you are in different mind created realms. Like that's the modern era. This could be one of those other doors in the hotel, another door in the hotel, and another door in the hotel. And so this could have been 100 years ago. And then this could have been 5 million years ago. And then this could have been 2 years ago. Like there's no linear sense. It is not that type of an expression. It is more about what you just ate. What did you just eat? Well, like first I ate a salad, and then I ate a piece of bread, and then I ate a piece of lasagna. So the thing that I just ate was a piece of lasagna, and like, oh yeah, like I have a little bit of spaghetti sauce right here. Like that was the thing that I most recently ate. But the bread or the salad aren't necessarily from 10 million years ago. The most recent thing that I ate might have been from 10 million years ago. I recognize that this is like, it's very challenging to put this into words. I hope, give me feedback. I hope that my ideas are actually coming through. Let's put it this way. In our life that we are living right now, in the modern era, that we're all sitting in this body, we are all having that moment of being able to ascend. We're all tuning up your chakras, getting in alignment. As we are doing that in this body, we have other bodies that we're living in other lives. And those chakras are also coming into alignment. And the experience that we're having is like my magical scarf, drawing together all of these divergent places in time so that they all gather together and create this convergence point or sense of self. That's what that central convergence point is. It's your, sense of self. You're not just who you are in this moment now. You are also who you are in many other moments. So this understanding, I think, gives us a great deal of like latitude. You can move left, you can move right, I can move the future, the past, and also nourishment. That regardless of what your life circumstances might have been in this life, maybe you didn't meet the right people or have everything, like maybe, maybe there were things that were not given to you or that you couldn't do or whatever. Maybe you did them in another time and place. Maybe this time and place is not about fun and games. Maybe you did fun and games in another time and place. And maybe you bring the refined, the essence, the goodness of the stuff that you did in other times and places, or the strengths that you developed or whatever, and you're able to weave them into this experience now. So that is very similar to what I'm experiencing. The nourishment and like I said, I can give them what I think it looks like to them. I think they would think, if they didn't know, they would think that I'm some fantasy, like some person from the future, right? Like I'm the future lady and I'm going to give you information, but it's not that type of a thing. It is much more of mutual inspiration that I can give them effective, guidance or wisdom of like, go here, don't go here. These are good, like, whatever. Like if someone's going to go visit New York City, be like, oh, this place has the best cannolis, but stay away from 42nd Street, like the good places to go, the bad places to go. And I can also receive nourishment and inspiration from them. How I talk about like my collective of consciousness and where I originate from, how that is a place where like the value system is very different, and there's love and nourishment and camaraderie and companionship that it's very, very difficult to develop here, especially because we are under assault by horrible, evil aliens, and they're frying us with 5G and also taking over people's minds, like making humans the Internet of Things. All of this can make it very, very difficult to do positive socializing. It can be hard to find friends or, can relate to people because they're like zombies, faces are falling off. And other times and places were different. So just remember that. And the social role that you might play in this time and place might not be exalted. Because I don't know if I have very many kings and queens, of this time and place on my student list. But I do know that many of us were, exalted. Let's call it nobility. Nobles, noble people. There were other times and places where the smartest, most physically fit, like most creative people, when those people, like the people in this class, people who have their SHIT together, those people around the world, as opposed to like, have you looked at some of these politicians? They are like super fat and their faces look like a wrinkled up paper bag and they do not look very physically healthy, most of them. They look like bureaucrats who've been sitting under fluorescent lights on their butts most of their time. And, they ain't writing songs. Like they're not jamming. They don't have a lot of creativity. And so these are the guys running the place, but I don't want to get into political stuff. So what Flying Rainbow Lasagna does is like that spark or that initiation in this moment now that creates that reverberation that reverberates back into the past that says, hey, why are you at this weird angle? You don't have to be at this weird angle. Flying Rainbow Lasagna, get into a better position. So what we're experiencing now, we can share that antidote or that nourishment to many other aspects of self across time. And wait, I know I'm almost at the end of this recording, but I want to make sure I get to level 1 stuff. So this is lesson 15. And I know that I'm teaching my class in a crazy way today. I understand that. Thank you for being with me. The level 1 recorded class that I recorded 6 years ago. So we have done so much mountain climbing since then. The vistas have completely changed. Like, if you climb a mountain, like you're going to have to put on layers. Like everything is different. We are not at the same levels that we were at it back then. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure that was evident and is understandable. It's not that you have your physical self and then you have this set of spiritual beings that come and inhabit you and make your arms and legs move and make you be alive. No, that is not the order of operations, and claim your body and be empowered. The order of operations is you exist as like a consciousness, just like a pure unformed consciousness, and your consciousness is part of the conception process to create a container for your consciousness to enter into, and your consciousness begins to accrete matter. Like we are right now on the opposite end of the journey. We're not accreting matter. We got plenty of matter. We have all eaten mashed potatoes and peas and everything, whatever, peanut butter and jelly. I'm thinking about baby food. You ate the baby food and you grew into being a human. We have accreted plenty of matter. But what we need to do now is accrete light. So it was the opposite journey coming here. We have plenty of light, but what we needed was matter. So we got lots and lots of matter and created a little fetus, the possible, container for our consciousness. And our consciousness comes down into there, and the biological movements of your DNA, whirling and swirling on all of those little dance movements of your DNA, is what makes these chakras and energy systems form. So it is not that you can think, well, chakras just exist independently of the physicality. And then they're like, oh, now I'll plop myself down on top of you. This is a big conversation because let me just drink more water. Get so thirsty. A lot of people are down on their chakras. A lot of people are down on chakras in general. And they say they want to do chakra removal. And some people have even told the story, like the narrative story. And this thing's very loud. The narrative story that like, oh, we didn't used to have chakras back in ancient Atlantis, and then we got chakras, and that was like Saturn's cube, making you be in prison, being rainbow prison. This is not rainbow prison, no. So that I'm trying to clarify all this, what actually happened. Because having chakras is actually good, but you don't want to have askew chakras. You want to have in alignment chakras. So what happened was babies were formed, perfect chakras emanate from the physicality. Again, order of operations. It is not that your eye of insight creates your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is the physical projector that projects your eye of insight, right? When you die, what happens? Projector turns off. Your eye of insight is still there. Order of operations. First, your pineal gland develops like the physical structure, and then it emits the light, the imagination. And that all is powered by like your consciousness. Consciousness just exists independent of all this. It's not like I'm going to squash away the consciousness or go somewhere else. Like you turn off the projector. Your consciousness still exists even if you're no longer, running this projector. I hope that all of that is making sense to you. Yes, I'm sure that a lot of people need to learn about this information. Please learn about it. I'm not talking to people in this class as I say that. Please understand I'm connected. I'm perceiving a lot of people who might be watching this video even after I'm recording it in the moment now. So that is who I was referring to, not any of the students in this class. Thank you very much. I want to make this key distinction because I don't want, I don't want anyone to think that your body is supposed to exist like at the pleasure of your chakras. What's supposed to happen, do I have to calm you down? Hold on a second. I don't want anyone to think that your body exists for the pleasure or exploitation of a bunch of non-physical beings. And I try to be really careful about my use of language, organic or inorganic, because that was in the recording from 6 years ago. Or climb the mountain, things are different now. So the way that I'm trying to use language and structure to tell you this, all of these parts of your body are you. It's not like someone other than you should be flying your ship. You should be flying your ship. All those other chakras are you. So all those other lives are you. Your chakras are you. Your non-physical aspects of self, of pure time, are you. You want those aspects of time to be healthy. So again, I do not feel that the solution is to amputate an unhealthy body part. You say, oh, I'm askew, like chop it off, burn it with fire. No, that is not what you should do. What you should do is make it go in the right direction. So this is the healing across time of many, many, many lives. When we in this moment make our energy centers be in alignment and, click into that proper time path, we are affecting all these other layers of time that we are connected to that are our concurrent lives. So as we are ascending, so are these other layers of self. And don't try to think about it linearly because your brain will probably just explode. How many times have I said in this class? I'm just being like a little bit, I was right. But I was right. How many times have I said in this class, this is not an obstacle course that you get to think your way across. You have to perceive. You have to perceive with your higher dimensional perspective or insight, as opposed to your intellect. So as I have been trying to use my intellect to analyze and ask the right questions, I have been recognizing this tool is not the right tool for what I'm trying to do. Like, have you ever done that? Have you ever been like, this is a metric screwdriver. Like, this is never going to fit into this hole that I'm trying to do something with. Like, these things do not fit. Just face it, put down that tool. So that is what I have done for myself. And that is what I'm encouraging others to do, that this process of navigating the time field is not a job for the intellect. This is not a job for the intellect. This is a job for the insight that you can actually see. So it's not like, first I was that guy, then I was that guy, then I was that guy. All of these guys at the same time. And basically all of the flavor of who you are, you're not just this spice, you're this flavor plus a dash of that and a dash of that and a dash of that and a dash of that. And all of these things make a rounded and balanced personality flavor profile of who you are. So as my prediction is, as it happened with me, as you begin to see these different layers of self, I predict that you will understand more like, oh, this characteristic or this aspect of self that I have here, this flavor comes from this other aspect of self that lived in a different time or a different mind-created realm, and that you are also flavoring and coloring their experience, and that's your true identity. Your true identity. How many times have I said, it's not just the interior of your epidermis in this life. Like, that's one level of development. Hey, I'm looking out for number one and I don't gotta get at nobody else. My jokes that I make every semester, not to be stale about it. But we're at that moment now where you ain't just looking out for number one. You are looking out for all of these people that are all you, that you all have to be responsible for one another. And that's what this is. And P.S., no, you're not going to have sex with all of them. And I have to say that because there's this show called Sense8 where these people start to connect across the mind-created realms, like they're living in the same times. And I think that they think that it's just like one big pajama party. And that is not what this is about. So I want to say, like, yes, like, you might find the man of your dreams or whatever, but like, don't think that, think in a different level, thinking in a different level here. Because everyone's going to like think that you're falling in love with your quote unquote twin flame. That's yourself. I mean, it's good. I want you to love yourself. That's yourself. That is yourself. Like, that is yourself out there. So you marry yourself or be in love with yourself. Understand that that is your divine self, but understand that it's you, not something other than you. I hope all of this is making sense because this is all really new to talk about. The stuff about chakras is stuff that I had already established. Also, there should not be a power struggle between you and your chakras. Everybody should want to go in the same direction, which is away from the membrane of death and towards eternal life. There should be no struggle. So it should never be like, well, I want to do blah, blah, blah in my life, but my chakras won't let me, or my chakras tell me no, or my chakras tell me go in this direction instead. That is a bunch of BS. So if anybody thinks that they're talking to their higher dimensional guides or talking to their chakras or talking to their ascended masters, and you're like, well, what I've always wanted to do is learn how to play the tuba, and the ascended masters or your chakras or whomever, this externalized power struggle that says, no, you're not allowed to learn the tuba. You must instead become a dental hygienist. You're like, I don't want to do that. That's not my path. This should never happen, because chakras are supposed to be a pro-survival tool. Think about it in terms of evolution, like stupid science that tells you, oh, you know, your teeth evolved to do this thing and your nose evolved to do this thing. Why don't we presume that our chakras evolved to do this thing? Like, why do we have our pineal gland projecting out all this stuff? Why do I have my heart creating this big, giant, freaking energy field? I'm being casual in my language, but you guys know what I am trying to express here. These energy fields are meant to be pro-survival. Otherwise, we would not have them as physical structures, which is also why I do not advocate their removal. But what I advocate for is getting all of them into alignment so that you only use that central pathway, which is, you know, is the culminative moment. You don't use all the peripheral crapola. So that's it. So yeah, go like bypass the crapola, but keep the good stuff, which is what you're supposed to do. And then you transform your chakras into a higher dimensional chakra shape, which is flying rainbow lasagna. So that's why I'm telling you that it's a good thing. It's not a prison. So I understand people are upset and they do not necessarily enjoy the limitations of their life. Right now is that moment, like the birth of a new dimension, when you get to suddenly like jump out of the limitations of your life and all of a sudden have an incredible amount of expanded freedom and insight and awareness and lateral movement. I keep saying lateral. That's what this is like. It's like, you know, you're moving across a football field and you have different people to the right and left of you, and those are all you, and you are the team advancing on the field. And, you know, we reach that culmination, and that is like making a goal. And I hope that my sports analogy came out right. And Pedro, I also hope that I know I have to read 13 more things. Hold on a second. Interesting, because Rainbow is talking to us from Northern California with the power outages. So I know that there's a lot going on up there. Carla says, does it hurt to ingest plast? So I'm wondering if that is a shorthand for like the shungite or for, help me out, what is PLAST? Oh, David says, when I connect with my alternate selves in the hallway, how do I do it? Purely through telepathy. So I might be sitting in a chair in my garden, looking at my plants and looking at the mountain. And I also feel at the same, like I am used to that. That is a normal thing for me. I'm sitting here in the physicality, but I'm also in another place where I am connecting with these other aspects of self, where I might feel like I'm looking out through their eyes or feeling through their senses or connecting to their body in some way. That's why I brought up that Sense8 show, because on that show, it's like, oh, you're drinking tea in England and I can taste you. Like that is the level of sensory connection. But again, like this is not a big pajama party. So don't think that it's about some sexual exploitation, because I don't want you to, like, this is a sick world. I just have to say it. I don't want you to think along those lines. My students are wonderful, but anyone who's watching this video, this is not about like, oh, good, I'm in a woman's body. Like I want to like look at boobies or something like that. It is not like that. It is not about sexuality, exploitation, or that type of voyeurism. This is a really different type of thing. Again, I have to make a distinction because I don't know who's watching these videos. So yeah, it has all felt like I focus in the same way that you guys are my class. I can just say this. I attenuate to them. What have I been saying in this class for such a long time? This is like a finger that you can use to reach out through time, and everything that you're touching upon, you're ingesting and learning about. So you can reach out through time and touch on these other lives. And you can feel and taste from their lives. And I've been cautioning you not to, like, don't eat poop, don't touch on evil, don't, you know, that's from an old movie. It's evil, don't touch it, don't touch it. They didn't listen, they blew up. Don't touch evil stuff, but instead find yourself through time and touch on this. So what I've been experiencing is that there's two things. There's the inhibitory fields of 5G, Internet of Things, Wi-Fi crapola, whatever you want to call it. I'm even wincing. You can see me wincing. I'm like, and my router is over there, like this thing. And my neighborhood is not even that bad. But some places it really, really is so uncomfortable. And also I've done a lot of stuff, like, something, I took Schönbeck powder and I sprinkled it in a perimeter around my home, like I've done. You can do a lot with orgonite. Oh my goodness, yes, people make these really good pyramids, orgons, plasterites, all of those things are effective things you can do. But yeah, we should not be assaulted on this level. But yeah, it takes mental focus for me to attenuate and to reach across time in that way. It takes for me a lot of mental focus and energy. So I think you know me in this class. I have to do one thing at a time. Like I can't be talking to you while I'm scrolling. I can't be squinting. I can reading the chat. Like it's a lot to juggle at once. So I find these conversations are easiest if I'm like sitting in a chair, so that I don't have to even be worrying, like, do I have to like keep my right foot and my left foot on the ground properly? All of that is a lot to have to juggle when you're doing this type of multidimensional exploration. And also, like I don't necessarily feel these levels of focus if I'm scrolling on the computer or doing some other kind of like frittering away my consciousness type of activity. It requires a focus. Like it hasn't happened by accident to me. It happens in those moments of feeling a ton of energy or a ton of light or a ton of awareness coming into me. And I'm like, wow, like I really feel this thing. And then it's there. I didn't necessarily search for these aspects of self. Somehow it's like everything got louder or everything got brighter. I was able to see them more effectively. So that's again why I say it's not a job for your intellect. It is a job for your higher senses. I will not dictate to anybody else their experience. I don't know who you were in a past life. I'm going to like find it very unethical for me to even have, like, you got to figure it out on your own. I got to figure it out on my own. Paint your own painting. Sharon says, sometimes I feel like I'm several places at once doing other activities. This morning I felt it very strongly. Is this connecting to concurrent selves? I think it is. And I think that not all of our concurrent selves live in this time and place. It's not like, oh, one person lives whatever in Australia, one person lives in New Jersey. Like, I don't think that it's like that here in 2019. I think that it's connecting across time. Like, you're the 2019 anchor, and then there's the whatever 20 million 19 anchor. Like, I think that that's how it is, which is also like, I know if you want to fall in love with someone who lives across time, because I'm thinking like everybody's going to think it's their twin flame, and this whole twin flame thing is very unhealthy because everybody thinks they're going to find their saviorship or their culmination, not their culmination, their completion. Like that whole myth about like you're split in half and you ain't complete and you got to find Mr. or Ms. Right. And it's like, I don't really think that that's what's going on. I don't think that that's healthy either. But what I've experienced in these coming together with other lives of whatever gender or appearance they are, it's like, yes, I love them, but with the cosmic love, with the universal love, my students are wonderful. You know what I'm talking about. Because I don't want people to be like, oh, I felt that I was connecting, to my true selves, and like, he lives in New Jersey, I better fly there and see if I can find him or something like that. Like, I don't think that it's that type of a journey. I think that it is not where you're like, get me a plane ticket so I can fly to this person that I'm talking to. I think everybody intellectually has to understand you're talking on the time telephone. You can't buy a plane ticket to go and meet that person that you're talking to. You have to understand and accept that. And that's the magic of it. Like, imagine someone from the past who's able to talk on the time telephone to me. And imagine if I could tell them, oh yeah, we're in this time of environmental degradation. Everything sucks and it's polluted. Like, I mean, that would be really tragic for them, but really amazing for them to understand where things are going. And hey, like, we need to be prepared in that journey. Like, through no fault of your own, you're going to end up in this like super polluted crap hole place. Like, don't panic. You can be that voice, like the voice of reason and assurance. And, I have felt myself as a future version of self reaching into this moment now, helping me in these ways too. So yes. Lisa says, thank you for your wonderful explanation. Good. I can say I have been experiencing a sense of more multidimensionality. Bigger, there are other parts of me around me. I think this is access in 5G world that we're now becoming able to access other sides of ourselves. I think this is why the push for 5G, so people en masse don't access this. I think so too. So I would really wish for everyone to be able to have this, because I think that it's our birthright. I think that it's why we're here at this moment, and all of this evil crapola has been done intentionally to try to either kill us, like prevent us from even getting to this moment, because it's all powered by like this external energy flow. So it's like, in some, it's the conductor. In some ways, we are the musicians and we can play, we can initiate play, but also like tap, 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 like you wait for the conductor, like you want to be a good musician and play on the beat. So it's the stellar network. So, and yeah, pardon me if I drifted. I really agree with you that this is, a fight to be able to access these things that we should have no limitations. There should be no limit. You should be able to get as much light as you want to. Eleanor says, physical feeling of suspension of gravity. Oh, interesting. Like moments of suspension on a roller coaster. Very interesting. You're going zero gravity. Might be incoming waves. Also sudden flashes of very subtle intuitions, understandings, quicker and subtler than ever had. Feels like some curtain is ever so gradually lifting in a way that can be uncomfortable, that can be comfortable and accepted. When doing the FRL, I do intend movements of connections with other selves in all directions, and I feel there is some effect. Even if I couldn't put my finger on if I couldn't put my finger on anything, reading is hard for me. Wanting to ask, do kinetic sensing and the knowing understanding participate in the third eye's activities? Can one's third eye be activated and form perceived yet not necessarily visually per se? Yes, I really think that's a good question. So I call this your eye of insight or inner vision. That's like a bit self-centered because I am super visually oriented. That's like my primary sense, looking at things, and secondarily auditory. But a lot of people, their senses awaken. Their first sense, that is the strongest sense, is feeling. And that's totally a valid way of doing things. So that would be like, I have a friend, she's passed on, but we used to travel to New York City together, and she could feel where the ley lines were, and she could feel energy. And also if she went to a thrift store, if she picked up some object, she'd be like, oh, someone was murdered with this, like she would feel things, not that hyperbolistic, but she could feel what had happened with things. So her thing was feeling stuff. And that actually led to a lot of discomfort because, she felt a lot of things that other people didn't feel. She'd be like this sometimes, like, ugh, like I was joking about the murder weapon, but you get a sense of like, yeah, you don't necessarily want to put your third eye directly on some things that are pure poop. So yes, in the sense that your inner eye is, or your senses, your higher dimensional senses are awakening. You might have vision, you might have hearing, you might have knowing, you might have feeling, you might have something that is a sense that is not even analogous to the five senses, that we don't have a word for. So I need to validate that experience, even while I very self-centeredly present, visual as a very strong thing. Because I'm a visual artist, so it comes through. That's the strongest thing for me when I get these information. But whatever is your way of expressing it is valid. But also I want to tell you, like, just like little children, everybody ends up developing at different rates, but to the same point. So it might have taken a person longer to read or another person longer to walk, but everybody ends up reading and walking. So I think everybody will end up eventually developing eyes, ears, senses, time perception. You get all of your senses, but not everybody gets them in the same order. Lisa says, musical DNA is still available. You just check. That's good. I have to end this recording. It's getting so long. Angel says, from all the different doors or loops of different lives, can one life have more significance to the soul due to the experience and or emotional charge of that particular life? Can that life affect the soul more than the rest? That's a really good question. I would say that all of the intensities of experience of all of these different lives fit in together. They harmonize. So it's not like one life is the primary life and the other life is the secondary life. The events that you're having happen at the same time. So whatever you're having on this day, you're having a fight with your boss at work. Another version of you is a peasant in medieval Europe, and you're whatever, feudalistically fighting for your potatoes, like whatever. It's the same problem that you're facing on concurrent timelines. So if you're like, no, stop stealing my potatoes, and you go to the boss and you're like, hey, I need a raise, like these are analogous experiences. So it's not like one self knows everything, one self has figured everything out, or one self is experiencing all the suffering. You're all suffering together. When that guy it doesn't get enough potatoes in feudal Europe, he's suffering, you're suffering. It's part of the reason why you didn't get that raise at work. Your lives were tied together. So his success is your success. This is what I mean when I say you ain't just looking out for number one. You got to care about other people. You got to care about other versions of self, and not even just on this timeline. in the reading. Rainbow Body is sharing some of her personal stuff and is saying personal experiences of the past, days of DNA changing. She says, yeah, she's off all social media. And I have to tell you, just like when I go to the 5G zone, my energy, my momentum goes down a lot. I find that if I do too much Facebook and everything like that, my energy goes down. And also I don't find it that interesting or fulfilling. It's not ever been that like fantastic, but it's what I do in order to share some of these, ideas and insights or whatever. So at this point, sometimes I don't even have the time to return for the comments. Like I will share some insight or something that's communication. And I know that other people are reading and responding and there's conversations going on, but then like I'm back to playing. Like I got to keep on playing. So perhaps other people are having a similar experience too. Rainbow, I will send you an inner download about DNA encryption. Cher says, the focus on sex in our society is very strange to me and has always been this way for me. Thank you for understanding. It's a very bizarre world to be in. SJ, good to see you, my dear, says, I think that our higher self is our twin flame. I think you're right. And what I would wish for every one of us is to truly be in love with your higher self. Like in love with, like as the most beautiful, divine partner, like the way that our ideal fairy tale marriage is described. Because I know that almost nobody here has a real, fairy tale marriage in their relationship. Relationships are fraught; they're not fairy tales. So I understand that. But finding your higher self or your other self or yourself across time, it is a very profound love. But I just keep on emphasizing, not a romantic love. But we should all love our aspects of self as much as you would love the man or the woman of your dreams. And to feel like they are that fab, they are all that, they are that great, and they are you. Because I'm very aware that people in this time and place feel very bent down, very like diminished, very not good about themselves. And then they think like, oh, like I can marry someone beautiful and then I would be like better. Like all these things, like it's you marrying yourself. Elena says, apologies over I came in halfway through, no problem. Can you please help me understand the difference between the idea you've mentioned before that we are everyone, like we're Gandhi and we're Hitler and everyone else, and the idea you're talking about now that we can attenuate to ourselves in other times? Is this the same idea that some lives are closer to us in our personal time fields? Yes, thank you. Really, really good question. So first up is the idea of Hitler. On our timeline, crazy madman, because we experienced peripheral Hitler. Hitler in this zone, hold it up so you can see this zone over here, over on the membrane of death, not centralized Hitler. Maybe he should have just been an artist, really? Like maybe he just would have been a happier person. I'm making light. It's not a good thing to make light of. It's a horrible war. But yes, instead of becoming an evil madman, like, hey, like become an artist. Maybe that was his, let me just make sure everyone's muted. Maybe that would have been a better timeline for him. So the idea is, or through other, and more serious note, through other life choices and other responses to the time field, there is a version of that organism known as Adolf Hitler that has the potential to be a perfected being, that has the potential to not be an evil madman, not want to kill everyone, to actually want to display all of the characteristics that we would call healthy and life-affirming. Each one of us has that too. And we also have peripheral selves that are mad distortions. Every one of you has a crazy but psychotic distortion version, but that's not you. You're not putting the membrane of your awareness on that. And the Gandhi that we know, like, let's say he wasn't askew like this, going through the membrane depth. Maybe he was like really like, more like this. We're using examples here, even if the man was flawed or whatever. If it's a psyop, if Gandhi turns out to be a psyop, I don't know who to trust, guys. But any elevated person that we're looking at, whatever that we look up to, they were a lot closer to being in alignment like this as opposed to severely askewed. But hey, maybe Gandhi was on a different timeline like this on the periphery, and he acted crazy. All right. So that's the first thing, is to understand what is the position of awareness, and also where are you in your journey. Like if you are on the linear journey of being like, well, first I had to do all these evil things, and then I had to figure out it didn't actually work, and then I had to learn how to play music better, and now I'm here. Like that's that whole idea that you have to play through every single wrong note before you get to the right note. You guys don't have to do that. So that is no longer necessary at all. So, I've said very broadly in the past, because I think it's unhealthy. If people say like, like I was Van Gogh in the past and now my ear hurts. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. That people would have like these, I'm trying to think of anything. People would get a past life reading and associate with who they were in the past. And that in a lot of ways, it was a distorted or minimal view of their true trajectory, and that it at times gave an unhealthy life expression. Instead of giving them more love, it gave them less love and less insight about themselves. So you're on an experience, you're one photon emitted from the sun and then reversing in time. Remember that idea of constantly re-recording over and over and over, like a old-fashioned cassette tape or a VHS cassette, not like a CD, the old-fashioned, like a loop, like a reel of tape. And that every time you record, like things are a little bit different. Like that is the idea. So are you on your 55th recording, on your 600th recording, on your 100 millionth recording? So we're all actually the same person. But some people are on their 55th recording, some are on their 6 millionth recording. And so that there's, allow this information to unfold without being colored by the prejudgment of anybody else who ever gave you a past life reading, who might have told you things out of order. Who might have said, oh, you were Marie Antoinette in a past life. You were Marie Antoinette in a past life. But between you now and Marie Antoinette, there might have also been 100 billion other experiences. And that person gave you a very limited view by saying, that's who you were. That is who you were. That is also who I was. Like maybe 25, 20 billion, 35, any number. Like, what was your trajectory like? Every person's trajectory through time is different. You're embroidering time in different ways. Like, okay. Well, I think I got to all the questions. Wait. Good. Let me end the recording for right now. Level 1 is very long. Thank you very much, everyone.